Hi, Rich Leiter here, and welcome to my channel, The Naked Booktuber. Contrapposto by Dave Eggers, an author that I have never come across before. This book just came out about a month ago or 2 months ago, so there are very, very few reviews on it. I think there are like 2 reviews that I've seen on YouTube. This is the book, Contrapposto, and I have it in large print. Since I'm such an old fart, I need large print. It's a very big book in large print. It is 573 pages in large print. I was able to read the book in 3 days. It's very, very fast reading. Dave Eggers, I understand from the little blurb on the back, was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize, no less. And I read this book basically because I understood that it deals with somebody who's an artist, and I'm interested in art. So I said, let's dive into it. Okay, so here's what I think of this book. I think that this book is about 80% soap opera, and it's about 20% a critique of the craziness of the contemporary postmodern conceptual art world. It's basically about I'll keep it short. It's about a young man who has a natural ability for drawing and for painting, but basically for drawing it starts out with, and we trace his development from the time that he's 15 years old to the time that he's, I think, 73 or 74 years old. And basically it's like I say, it kind of involves his romantic relationship with a woman, and we also trace her lifespan from the age of, I think, 15. We trace his life from the age of, I think, 10 to 74, and we trace her life. Her name is Olympia. We trace her lifespan from age 12 to around 75 or 6, something like that. And they have this long 60-year kind of romantic off and on relationship, and it kind of just traces the vicissitudes of their relationship. She's kind of a weird woman. They get together every couple of years. He's hopelessly in love with her. He's kind of a passive character in a way. He's hopelessly in love with her. His name is Cricket. That's the name of the main character, Cricket. Cricket is hopelessly in love with Olympia, but Olympia, is just a free spirit who loves to sleep around with lots of men. She can't commit herself to a relationship with Cricket, but she touches base with him wherever he is in the world. Once every couple of years, they get together for a night of passionate lovemaking. She encourages him. They're both in the art field. She's more of a art consultant type, a gallerist or a curator. She's much more into this, conceptual art schlock, this happening stuff. And she's always encouraging him to show his art. And he's much more reticent about doing that. He's very conflicted about being true to his art versus stooping to make money in art, something like that. It's the usual cliche. And we trace their romantic relationship. They have a night of passionate love. She usually leaves the next day. He doesn't see her again for a couple of years. He'd love to have her live with him, get married, but she doesn't want to do that. And this kind of off and on relationship goes on for the whole book. And really, about halfway through the book, I realized that this is not so much a novel about an artist as it, like I say, it's like 80% about their romantic relationship. and about halfway through the book, I realized that this was kind of turning into a soap opera kind of thing. What held it together very loosely was the fact that he was an artist, and as I say, there's about 20% commentary on the art world. This book, I mean, Dave Eggers is not a bad writer. He's a pretty good writer. He has some great lines in this book. He's a sensitive guy, sensitive author. I'm not going to deny him that. It's not like this is an incompetently written book, or it needs to be completely revised, or it's completely embarrassing. No, not at all. It's a respectable, good book. It's the kind of a book that you would read while you're vacationing in Maine or in the Hamptons or the Jersey Shore. You'd read this book on the beach. Just to kill time, basically, or maybe you'd read it when you're in the dentist or doctor's office and on the beach. It doesn't require the kind of laser-like attention that Moby Dick would, or Thomas Mann would, or any classic author. It's classified as literary fiction, but it's kind of light on the literary stuff. So as I'm saying, this is perfect, this kind of a book. I would imagine at some point or another this book is going to become a Netflix miniseries, or it's going to become a movie. It's perfect for that. It's kind of got a Forrest Gumpy vibe to it, very much so. This tracing his life from 10 to 74. I don't really go for that kind of broad brushstroke kind of Forrest Gump stuff. That kind of turns me off. But as I say, it would be perfect for a movie. It would be commercially very easily digestible. As I say, my notes, I'm saying it's 80% Pulp Fiction, soap opera. You could also see it as kind of sophisticated Pulp Fiction in a way also. Another part about it is that these characters, Cricket and his romantic interest, they don't Cricket doesn't jet set all over the world because he's poor, but he goes all over the world throughout the course of this novel. He's in New York, Philadelphia, Bangkok, in Thailand. He's in the Antarctica. He's in Paris. So it's perfect for Netflix. The locale change is constant. And his love interest, Olympia, well, she's more of a jet setter because she's tries to cater to high-end, art collectors and get them, tell them what to buy and what not to buy, what's trendy. So she is kind of jet setting. And this jet setting and constantly shifting locales is kind of cheap and commercial and overdone, and I could have done without it also. The soap opera part of it, their on-off love-again relationship, is, it's kind of arbitrary and open-ended. The developments, the twists and turns of their relationship. To me, the mark of a really tightly written book is that whatever happens in the book, it had to be that way. And everything is very tightly held together. A lot of the events that happen to Cricket are kind of open-ended. This book could have gone on a lot longer. It could have gone on a lot shorter. There's nothing inevitable about it. The only thing inevitable is that the guy kind of grows old. So that's the romantic aspect, and I have to say, in all honesty, because this book is such a long book, and you see them, growing older and the vicissitudes of their relationship. In the end, they is this a spoiler? I guess so. They do get together in the end, and it is very, very touching the way that when they get old. His love interest finally does want to settle down and just be with him. She's 76 now. Has been through a lot. She's had cancer, and it is touching at the end. And and Dave Eggers is not a stupid person. He's not just a jerk. He has some very, very telling. He has one or two actually profound insights. Cricket, when he's an old man, makes the observation, I'm paraphrasing, that when you get old, he says, you don't lose your life force. You actually get sharper. You want to live just as more. You're just as sensitive, just as you love life even more. What happens is your body deteriorates, but you're just as vital. Not all people are like this, of course, when they get old, but I feel that I have. That would describe me. And I've met other elderly people who have said pretty much the same thing, that people don't talk about this. When you get old, you don't just become decrepit mentally and emotionally. You actually become sharper and stronger, many of us, when that happens. And I thought that was a very apt comment. He also has, in spite of its Forrest Gump soap opera quality, he has a lot of biting. And by the way, Dave Eggers, I understand, was an artist himself, or is an artist himself. He certainly does know about the history of art. He makes many references to many artists all throughout history. And I knew who everyone was that he talks about them, from the Impressionists to contemporary schlock artists. Everybody he mentioned, I knew. I didn't have to Google anything. He seems to be intimately knowledgeable about art. When he talks about it, it doesn't look like he really is not an artist and just did a lot of phenomenal research. No, he's not faking it there, and I was with him all the way, and this is the reason I kind of wanted to read this book. Unfortunately, as I say, the book was only maybe 20% dealing with art. It surprised me in this respect. The parts of the book that dealt with art basically dealt with, you could tell that Dave Eggers and Cricket, his main character, were basically making fun, poking fun at the contemporary postmodern conceptual art world. Throughout the novel, Cricket, gets to see firsthand the insanity and the hypocrisy and the utter vacuousness of of the contemporary art world. He in the beginning of the book, for instance, he goes to a state college, and he sees that if you can paint really well, if you have a natural talent for the line, for drawing, this is derided by the current iteration of the artistic zeitgeist. They will make fun of you. He mentions one very talented young student who presents her work at a critique, and all of the conceptual and postmodern critics and professors there put it down as something which is old hat, and they really mercilessly criticize it. Which is exactly what is true in the art world happening today. And of course, Cricket, the main character, is more of a representational artist, so he takes this to heart, and this critique of representational art is well done. Later on in the book, Cricket, having been urged by his kind of pushy girlfriend, career-minded girlfriend, Olympia, on and off girlfriend, she tells him he ought to, intern at a gallery. It might be easier for him to maybe get his own show or something. So he interns at a gallery, which is, again, it's a joke. I mean, the people there all have an attitude. These nothings who aren't artists, who can't do anything. He calls them artistic bureaucrats, which is exactly what they are. He works in this gallery doing menial work for a while. They don't even want him being there, and he kind of leaves abruptly, but he gets a taste for that. He at another point later on in life, I mean, this is every 10 years he's exposed to this. Later on in life, he works for a Damien Hirst / Jeff Koons type of artist who doesn't really create art. This Damien Hirst type guy is named Kyle. And Kyle doesn't really make art. What he does is he has an idea, and then he hires multiple other fabricators to bring his idea to fruition. And one of the people that he hires is Cricket, who actually, as it turns out, was a classmate of his in State College. They weren't great friends, but he, anyway, it's a long story, but he hires him to be one of his fabricators, and they get along beautifully. And this guy, Kyle, this Damien Hirst / Jeff Koons type, is completely vacuous. He's a multimillionaire. He's filthy rich. He lives in a very vacuous environment, obviously, and this is also depicted very, very well by the author, Dave Eggers. The problem I had with this is all that that Dave Eggers, the author, talks about when he talks about art. He pokes fun at the contemporary art world. I thought that in this book, Cricket, who has a natural talent and who from the time he's like, a teenager, dreams of becoming a famous artist and becoming part of an atelier in Europe, as they did in the Renaissance. He dreams of doing this, and then after he becomes he finishes his atelier apprenticeship, he will go out into the art world and he will slay it. So I thought, well, this is a guy that's going to do that, And I kind of had an idea, preconceived notion that, yes, he's going to rub noses with all of these vacuous artists and Jeff Koons types and these bureaucratic, empty-headed gallerists, who are kind of, disciples of Marcel Duchamp's Fountain. And he's gonna be exposed to this, and he's gonna go on from that point. He's gonna say that's not for me, but he's gonna have this drive to continue to do his own artwork, whether he makes it or not. I mean, he says at one point, or the author says at one point, in the end, a real artist creates art not for monetary gain, remuneration, but for the sheer joy of doing it. That's when they're most alive. He says that, or Cricket says that, or they both say it. So I thought, this is going to be an exploration of the artist. We're going to see the main character struggle to create beautiful, beautiful artworks that are going to be misunderstood, or he's going to have trouble getting showing them to the world. But he's going to keep doing art, beautiful art, throughout the book, and he's going to talk about it, or there's going to be an exploration of the nature of creativity, a la Thomas Mann, a la Martin Eden, Jack London's Martin Eden, that he's going to really, go into the meat of it. This would be a perfect forum to explore this. And Dave Eggers doesn't do that. He just kind of focuses in this 20% of the book that's devoted to art. He just focuses on kind of social commentary about what a crazy, screwed up world we have now. He does it well, but I wanted a lot more from this book. It was very facile. He chose very facile writing. And as it turns out, Cricket, this kid with enormous talent, doesn't do a lot of his own work. He gets other jobs. He gets jobs as somebody who puts in ceramic tiles, or somebody who takes apart ships in Turkey. He salvages what he can from them. That's another job he has. He has a whole slew of jobs. And he does some art, but nothing to the extent that I would think he would. This is not the kind of a book like Zola's book about Cezanne. I think it's called Masterpiece. This is not like that at all. He doesn't go in depth into this. At one point later on in the book, when Cricket is in Thailand, he starts making very facile, easy copies of famous paintings of Picasso's Guernica and Pizarro, and that they sell for like $500. And he, talk a little bit about forgery. So Dave Eggers is going the very, very facile, easy, superficial route. He's not really exploring. And I began to dawn upon me that this was a facile novel. Dave Eggers could have gone superficial or profound, and he chose superficial. It's kind of a novel when it talks about art of social commentary. I wanted a lot more than that. Why didn't you give me that, Dave? This book was not, I don't think this was a Pulitzer Prize worthy book or even a contender. It was a good summer read, It had a lot of shrewd comments about art. At one point, one of the characters, not Cricket, one of the main characters, one of the few characters who despises this contemporary postmodern art schlock, he says, talented people produce, they create beautiful works. I'm paraphrasing. He says, talentless people theorize. And that's it. That's wonderfully said. There are many, many more telling comments like this. But I wanted him to go beyond this. In a way, this book was kind of like The Goldfinch. It wasn't quite as pretentious as The Goldfinch. The writing wasn't quite as baroque and ornate. It was more down to earth. It was a much faster read. But still, it didn't really explore the potentialities of the creative mind in any way. And this kind of hit me about 50% through the book, that it's really kind of a soap opera, thinly masquerading as a book about an artist. It wasn't that much about an artist. And the stuff that it talked about, as I say, was kind of lightweight criticism, which has been talked about by many, many people in other venues. Some better, some not so good. It's all true what he says. It's kind of pathetic. Excuse me. It's kind of pathetic, the art world, and he's nailed it, Dave Eggers. Okay, but I want the main character to go beyond this. So I got the impression that, the main character, Cricket, is a talented person who didn't push himself, who didn't focus on art. He's not trying to be the next Raphael or trying to be the next, I don't know, Balthus, maybe, contemporary setting. He's not trying to do this. His attitude towards art is more of a casual one, and this was a turnoff for me. It's more of a soap opera, Pulp Fiction. The parts that he does talk about that involve art, it involves a guy who doesn't really push himself at all. So it was limited. If he's a good writer, he has some talent, I think, Dave Eggers, no question about that. In the beginning of the novel, I kind of envied Dave Eggers for the way he could write. But about 200 pages into the novel, I said to myself, if I wanted to be a writer, or if I could write, I don't think I'd want to write like Dave Eggers. That's what I was thinking to myself. So that's my review of this novel. That's all I think I really have to say about it. Thanks a lot.